Hello again, dear students. I bring you this next video from my backyard. I have been waiting for a day when the wind hasn't been too fierce and it hasn't been raining, and here we are, I think the perfect day for an outdoor video. In this video, I would like to discuss with you your third mini assignment for project number 3. This mini assignment is already available on Canvas, as you probably already know, and there is on Canvas, if you go to our syllabus page, a link to a handout. The handout looks something like this, and it's referred to as Outlining the SOAPS of 2 Sources for Project Number 3, the Source Analysis Essay. So in this video, I would like to talk you through how to complete this handout, and more importantly, how to actually read the sources that you have found. So at this point in your Project Number 3 research assignment, you have chosen a topic, you've chosen keywords for that topic. You've also then used those keywords to search for sources in the library databases. Now, very importantly, the sources you use in English 102 are a little different from what you used in English 101. In English 101, it was completely appropriate to use newspapers and magazines for your sources for your final project. In English 102, we invite our students to consult articles from scholarly journals, and that's why it's necessary for you to use the library databases to find those sources. Your last mini assignment helped walk you through how to identify sources from scholarly journals. So hopefully you have a few of those sources on hand, and maybe we can consult one of them as you are looking at this handout. So, thinking about the fact that you have these sources, hopefully that are all from scholarly academic journals, what I would like you to do is choose the 2 sources that seem to be the most relevant to your topic, or the ones that just seemed most interesting to you. Your first step, as I note on your handout, is to read your sources. But I say on the handout, wait, because the good news about this project is you don't actually have to read the entire journal article in most cases. Many of you probably have journal articles that are about 20 pages long. If you skim through them on your computer, you probably saw, my goodness, these are such long articles. And if you look at the middle sections of the articles, there are probably these sections that have a lot of data and statistics and sort of these strange equations in the middle. That is all very interesting and important material for our upper level classes. But for English 102, all we really care about is what inspired these authors to conduct this research and what conclusions or results they drew from their research. So the good news for your articles, you're probably only going to need to read the introductory section, which is probably more than 1 paragraph. There's probably a good 2 pages of an introduction for these articles. So you will need to read the introduction, and then I actually want you to scroll down to the end of the article, and I say in your handout, look for sections that have the headings called discussion, findings, or conclusion. It is in those sections called discussion, findings, or conclusion that you will actually find the argument that the authors are making. Now, in English 102, what we care about are the arguments that authors make. So you don't need to worry about the methodology of the research. You don't need to worry about the mathematics of the research for this assignment. What you do need to concern yourself with is what inspired the author or authors to conduct this research, and what they conclude from this research, and what arguments they are now making. Once you have read and maybe took notes on the introductory material and the final concluding material, where you note the author's key arguments or findings, I'd like you to turn back to this handout, the Outlining the SOAPS of 2 Sources handout. Now, on this handout, you probably noticed that there are some color-coordinated sections. The reason for the color coordination will make a lot of sense when you get to your next assignment, which is a draft of the essay. But for now, I'd like to just talk with you through this acronym that I've given you called SOAPS. Now, I note in or on your article that SOAPS is an acronym that stands for S, speaker, O, occasion, A, audience, P, purpose, and S, source. There are a number of questions that correspond to each of those letters, to each of those parts of that acronym, that I want you to answer in preparation for the draft of your source analysis essay. The first is the speaker, and it's on your handout in red. And I ask you questions about the speaker of the article. Now, in this case, you want to think about the speaker as the author or the authors. So who wrote and published this, right? Who are the authors? Here are some very important questions that I'd like you to try to find answers to. What do you know about the speaker or the author? How do you know that the speaker is credible? And I say for you all in English 102, look on the first page of your journal article or the very last page of the journal article. Very frequently, they have little bios of authors on the first or last page. That might tell you some information about these particular authors or speakers. I'm curious in particular if these speakers or authors have published in this field, right? Do they have degrees that are relevant to this field? Have they presented at conferences that are connected to this topic? If your journal article does not have information about the speaker on the first or the last page, just do a quick Google search. Maybe Google their name and maybe some keywords from the journal title, and I bet a brief bio will come up online about your speaker or author. But in this particular section, I want to know, how do you know that the speaker is credible? Why should we trust what this speaker or these authors are saying in this particular journal article? When you find that information, I encourage you to go ahead and just type it right below that red speaker section on your handout, because again, you will upload this to Canvas for a grade. After you determine information about the speaker, I'd like you to look at the O, which stands for occasion. Now, by occasion, I mean, what is the event or what is happening that has inspired these speakers or authors to craft this journal article? I note here on your handout, what occasion inspired the speaker to write this article? In other words, what is happening or has happened to inspire the author to write? The occasion, very importantly, is typically outlined in the introduction. So in the first couple of paragraphs of your journal article, you can glean or gain insight into what inspired the authors to write this. Usually people establish some sort of background or motivation for their particular study. That's why at the beginning of this video, I suggested that you will need to read the introduction to your article. It's because it's from there that you will find the occasion that prompted the authors to write this. Once you figure out the occasion that prompted the writers to craft their article, you're going to go ahead and turn to your handout again and type it right below the purple occasion section. Explain to me what has happened to motivate the authors to write this article. From there, you're going to move on to the green section, which is known as the audience. Now, in this particular case, I'm interested in who is the intended audience for this article. The intended audience for the article will obviously be the people who typically read the journal. So, for example, if your article, was published in the Journal of American Psychology, you could probably assume that the audience is comprised of people who are interested in the study of psychology, maybe American psychologists or people who are interested in learning about American psychology, but probably people with advanced degrees in psychology studies. So if you're not really sure, based on the title of the article, who the intended audience is, go ahead and Google the title of the article, or the title of the journal. Not the title of the article in this case, but the actual journal that it was published in. And try to find out who reads this, right? Who are the people who are meant to really get this article and make sense of its arguments. And then tell me a little bit about what you know about that audience. After you have determined the audience, which again is the green section, you'll type that below the audience section on your handout, and then you'll move on to P, the purpose, which is on your handout in blue. Now, by the purpose of the article, I mean sort of what is sort of the overall agenda or plan of writing this article. Do the authors plan to inform the audience about something? Do they plan to explain what caused something to happen? Do they plan to make an argument? Do they plan to challenge already existing findings about something? What is the purpose of this article? And very importantly, what are some of the key claims that the article makes? That's where reading those last final sections of the article will come in, where you read the conclusion section or the findings or discussion section. That's where the authors will make their arguments. So underneath the purpose section on your handout, I want you to tell me what is the overall purpose of writing this article, of publishing this article. But in addition, what are some of the key claims or findings that the authors make? After you type that portion on your handout, I'd like you to look at the final piece of the SOAPS analysis handout, and it is in yellow and it's labeled source. In this particular case, I want you to tell me about the source of publication. And by that, I mean the journal that published the article. What do you know about this journal? Is it a credible journal, for example? One way to think about that is when you did research in the library databases, did you click on the peer-reviewed journal section? If you did, you know that this is a peer-reviewed journal. And by peer-reviewed, we mean that peers of the authors, other people in their same field, have read and given feedback on this article. So we have some assurance that it really is a reliable and trustworthy article. If the journal itself is peer-reviewed, that means all articles published in that journal have been reviewed by experts in the field. So try to find out if your journal is peer-reviewed. Again, a quick Google search for the title of the journal will help you find that information. Usually, if you just click on the journal title, like Journal of American Psychology, and you type Wikipedia after that, a blurb will come up on Wikipedia, and it almost always will begin with Journal of such and such, a peer-reviewed publication in. And if it says peer-reviewed, you can be assured that this is a credible, trustworthy source. Go ahead, type information that you can find about the journal on your handout again. And then if you turn to the second page of your handout, you'll see that it is just a section for you to complete the same SOAPS analysis for your second article that you found during your library research. So the same information, you probably don't need to read the whole article, but you do need to read the introduction and the conclusion or the finding sections. And then again, you'll outline as much information as you can come up with about the speaker, the occasion, the audience, the purpose, and the source. You'll type that information on your handout again, save that information, and then upload it to Canvas for a grade. Here's the really good news. Once you complete this information, and you'll have this completed, you'll have your information from your last 2 mini assignments, you will have actually already drafted almost your entire source analysis essay. So these small assignments will be used directly to begin your draft, which I'll be talking about in the next email that I send to you. But for now, if you have any questions about how to analyze the source of your articles, please feel free to email me, call me, or text me, and I hope you all have a beautiful day. Bye!